Welcome to Movies That Matter, the podcast about recent films going above and beyond the call of box office returns to boldly explore a social issue affecting people's lives. I'm Stacy Moore.
I'm Nicole Finari.
So, Nicole, which movie shall we overanalyze this time? Hello, my name is Doris, right?
That's right.
Excellent. Now, you've seen this more recently than I have, right? You saw it just the other day.
I saw it last Monday.
Okay. Starring the illustrious Sally Field, right, as Doris Miller, Max Greenfield of New Girl fame. Did you ever watch New Girl?
I've seen it a few times.
Okay, so you know who Schmidt is.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what I feel like Schmidt is our generation's Kramer.
So I'm one of those people who remembers everybody from the first thing I saw them on. So this is embarrassing because he will always be Michelle, from the French TA from the show Greek.
What?
Yeah.
No way. I think I saw like maybe the first season of Greek.
I'm way too old to have liked Greek as much as I did.
Oh my god. I'm going to have to go back and find that. Yeah, it actually blows my mind. But he's pretty awesome as Schmidt. Kind of love to hate him, and then you just plain love him, I think. Did you ever used to watch? You watched it, New Girl, right?
I've seen it.
Okay, like basically, I recall like basically quoting everything he ever said, just ad nauseum, which was really obnoxious for my friends, but it's okay. And then also Tyne Daly is Doris's best friend Roz, and there's a cameo from Peter Gallagher as a self-help guru who helps Doris, I don't know, what would you say, find her sort of inner power. Mm-hmm. And it's directed by Michael Showalter of Wet Hot American Summer fame, and also The Stage. Yeah. So you've seen this.
Yep.
Yeah. So I was actually surprised to learn that he directed this, because there wasn't really an element, or maybe there was, of absurdity.
Yeah.
Most of his films are pretty absurd.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely their style of humor. The State, that is their sort of comic styling. So,
did you kind of pick up on any of that?
No, I think they played it pretty straight.
Right.
I think they did.
Right, I thought so too. So I'm just going to give a quick summary of the movie. Following the death of her invalid mother, baby boomer Doris, played by Sally Field, takes a break from pathological hoarding to vie for the attentions of a younger coworker, New Girl's Max Greenfield, we were just discussing, who just started at her office. And her methods of seduction include catfishing, Facebook stalking, actual stalking, because she's old school like that. Doris is basically Zooey Deschanel, right, in 40 years. Quirky, likable, offbeat, except she wears clothes from the 50s because that's when she bought them. And it's two-time Oscar winner Sally Field's first leading role in 20 years.
No.
Yes.
That can't be right.
It's wrong. You know what I mean?
That can't be
morally.
right. It's morally wrong because she was amazing.
Yeah. The budget for the movie was, I looked this up today, was $1 million for that whole thing.
That's great.
I couldn't believe that. And with domestic box office returns of $13 million. So, like, at first 13 seems really low, don't you think? But then I guess if it's like a 1,200% return, that could be good.
Yeah.
For, like, I don't know, older women in roles. Which I think is kind of what's special about the movie, right? I think that's the basic kind of what makes it stand out, is that there's this woman who is, I think Sally Field is 69.
Yeah. I think what the movie does most successfully in that sense is make it completely credible that this older woman would be attractive as a friend to some younger people.
Right.
Which I think was hard to pull off, and mostly, a credit to Sally Field and whoever the costume designer was.
Yes, her outfits were on fleek.
Yeah.
They were so good. I could not believe some of the things she came out in.
Her glasses alone.
I
love her glasses so badly.
Oh my god. And wasn't at one point she was wearing 2 pairs at the same time?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I was pretty impressed with her wardrobe for sure. Let's see. So, apparently nearly 80% of film characters over 40 are men. Just in general. 80%. which is depressing. Like 37-year-old Maggie Gyllenhaal was recently deemed too old to play the love interest of a 55-year-old man.
I remember that.
Which makes me want to cry myself to sleep. And Meryl Streep recently commented at the Berlin Film Festival that after 40, women are generally asked to play, quote, hags and witches. So it's no surprise that Hello, My Name is Doris almost didn't get made. Like, I think that's pretty obvious, right? You can sort of see that happening. The response was pretty much, so according to Michael Showalter, the response was, hey, this is a good movie, but we're not going to make it. Like, nice script, but unless you want to put Cameron Diaz in the part, we can't do it.
But I think that's interesting because I definitely feel, I was thinking about this, that there are a few movies, or there's quite a bit in the media these days about, the cougar, an older woman and younger man matchup.
I can't think of cougar movies, but there was that movie with Helen Mirren recently.
Right.
Eye in the Sky, right? And then there was Grandma Lily Tomlin. But I think Lily Tomlin's a lesbian, so she wouldn't have had a boyfriend. Well,
there was a movie with... Wow, this one was very awkward. There was one with Kristen Bell.
What?
Yeah, she sleeps with like a teenager, so it's a very much a very inappropriately portrayed.
Oh my god!
Statutory rape situation. There was one with Catherine Zeta-Jones called The Rebound.
Okay. Is the Rebound?
There was
the one
Melanie
with that,
Linsky one. You know.
I don't know her.
She was, unfortunately, best known as the creepy neighbor from 2.5 Men.
I know
Australian
who you're talking
actress.
About. Yes.
She was so. There's been a lot, I feel, in the media these days, actually portraying the May-December matchup where the woman is older. But
here's a random example for you: Captain America 2.
Okay.
Right. There is a scene towards the beginning, and it's like the least likely of sources, right, for something like this. There's a scene towards the beginning where this guy, who's, I guess, like, in his late 20s or early 30s, the protagonist, is basically in love with a 90-something-year-old woman. Right. That's and it's not, he didn't meet her that way, of course. Like, he, I guess, has been, I forget how it works out, but, like, he meets her when they're the same age, and then through some kind of time travel or whatever, sees her again when she's, like, bedridden and senile and 90 whatever, and he's still obsessed with her. Like, he goes to visit her and hangs out with her at her bed or whatever. And it's actually I found it shocking. Like, when I was watching the scene, I actually found it shocking that this guy was genuinely interested. You got the sense, like, he eventually decides to, give her space because, she's got Alzheimer's and his very presence just upsets her. Mm-hmm. But you almost get the sense that, like, he would have tried to make it work.
Yeah.
Which was absolutely... I'd never seen anything like that.
That's cool.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it was... and you don't expect to see that in a comic book movie.
No.
Certainly.
No.
When really it's only been relegated to indie films, like the ones you were just talking about.
Yeah.
But, so there's I thought so there's this lady, Manola Dargis, who writes for the New York Times. I thought she put it really well. So I'm just going to read just one passage. I'll try to, do it really quickly. She's talking about Max Greenfield's character. What was his name? John. Right. John straightens Doris's lopsided eyeglasses. With this one small human kindness, he does something that astonishes Doris, something that doesn't often happen to the world's invisible women. He sees her. Wrinkles have a way of making women disappear 1 crease at a time. And Doris, who's in mourning when the movie opens, has done her part to vanish. When this kid notices Doris, it changes everything. Doris is more than just surprised by his attention. She is also transformed. He makes her visible, most importantly, to herself. So I thought that was a really good way of putting it. Like, I think, as we get older, I'm saying that in the first person, but we'll use that word gently. I think you feel less and less seen.
I had that experience almost in a very different context, but I can sort of imagine how it feels in terms of when I taught English in Japan after I graduated from school, and Japanese culture at the time men, it may have changed. You know, men didn't really flirt with women, and they certainly didn't flirt with Western women. So
wow,
I sort of inhabited this space where I was very other, and people stared at me all the time, but with zero sexual interests whatsoever. So I kind of operated in this world where I wouldn't say it was invisible, but I almost compare it to being a zoo animal. I just experienced the world where I just was not a sexual object at all in any way, shape, or form. And while I never appreciate things like catcalling, like I don't appreciate the objectification that is sort of intrusive attention, unintrusive attention, again, a smile from the guy at the coffee shop is welcome and makes me feel good about myself, and having it all just gone is very difficult.
Yeah, and to have that, to feel like that's now permanent, say, if once you reach a particular age, that would be, it would mess with your sense of self-worth, right? As it doesn't with guys, don't have to worry about that.
Right. There's a good, look it up, go to YouTube, there's a good interview with Dustin Hoffman.
Really?
From having, like, gone out on the street in his Tootsie. And during this interview, he literally breaks down in tears over how he just became so invisible, and how his whole being in the world changed by being in that makeup. Wait,
how recently did he go out?
I mean, it was when he was filming, but the interview is much later.
Right.
And he said, you know, being an unattractive middle-aged woman, he was invisible, and he couldn't believe how different it felt to be in the world.
What empathy.
Wearing that makeup,
to have. But to have to go to those lengths to be able to put yourself in someone else's shoes, which I guess is hard to do, but to have perspective. But, wow, that's amazing.
I think the thing I really liked about Hello, My Name is Doris as well is Sally Field is, I mean, is she 5 feet tall? She's so tiny. She also has such a small physical presence, which I thought the movie did a good job of highlighting at times, like when she sits on his shoulders. And you're like, because
so cute.
Sally Field is so tiny, you can pick her up like a kid.
Right, stick her in your pocket. I loved. I guess we should talk about the movie. Okay, I actually really liked the movie. I enjoyed it. I did find myself the only one laughing at certain times in the theater, which was a shame. But
I cannot comment. There were 2 other people in the theater with me at the time.
Got it.
It was a Monday afternoon.
Did you find it funny?
I did find it funny.
Okay.
I found it. I have what I call my empathetic embarrassment problem.
Oh, God.
There were moments that I literally closed my eyes.
No.
I was like, I just can't watch this.
I cannot look.
Yep.
I cannot look. I actually,
like Stacy is doing hands over the face.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like, literally, I felt like my stomach would sort of turn at certain points. But I thought that was pretty cool that they were able to, having never been 69 before, to be able to relate to this woman who is going through the exact same things that everyone else has gone through. Like, really being into someone, really putting in all the effort, and then, to look great or whatever, and then walking out on that limb, and the limb just kind of, shaking a little bit. And you're just thinking, oh my God, she's going to fall. Like, this is going to end so badly. And just being completely... So I was wrapped up in that. So I thought that was effective. It was effective. Like, I wanted the characters... I wanted them, good things to happen to them.
I did as well.
Right? They were super, super likable.
Yeah. Yeah. Not a movie about jerks. Hooray.
No, yeah.
I'm very over that trend, I will say. I'm tired of everybody being not a nice person. And this was a movie where, for the most part, humanity shone through, and that was nice.
It did, yeah. Even the sort of Brooklyn hipsters that we all kind of love to hate at certain points.
I think that was
really lovely.
Yeah, that was maybe my favorite part about the movie, where there are bits that absolutely savage the Brooklyn hipsters.
They did, yeah.
In
all in
kind of
fun,
pointed
right?
fashion.
Yeah.
Which isn't that new, but at the same time, again, makes them, for the most part, genuinely nice people.
Yeah.
Like, very... It pokes fun at the silliness of, artisanal creations or those very obvious pieces that you can make fun of about hipsterism, but still shows that, in fact, they are genuinely interested in meeting a different kind of person and in thinking that different types of things are cool and interesting. And I was very happy with that aspect of the movie. I've seen one too many things that just tears down hipster culture.
Sure, because they're an easy target.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I thought, good for them for not just taking the easy route.
Sure, and it kind of offered this scenario where it was possible for someone like Doris to kind of come in and just fit in right away. Although I guess in her office that doesn't happen, does it? Like, they are kind of hipstery in her office, right? Would you say I forget the actors' names, but the sort of 4 or 5 people that hang out at her office, they kind of only warm up to her after John Fremont
determines that she is actually cool.
Right.
Or weird in a good way, which is my favorite line of the movie.
Weird in a good way. The other one's like, is there a good way?
Yes.
And
I'm here to attest.
Right, and that's the unspoken answer, right?
Yeah.
Okay, do we want to... Let's go ahead and say spoiler alert. It's not The Sixth Sense, so let's not get too worked up, right, about, we're giving you warning. Spoiler alert, we're about to talk about the end.
Yes.
Okay, so fast forward to 22 minutes and 10 seconds if you don't want to hear the spoiler. So at the end, so we go through the whole thing. She makes her feelings known to this younger man, right? And that was the point we were talking about earlier, I think, where there were lots of others too, but one that was just really, really hard is when you see this train wreck happening in slow motion where she actually just gets drunk, lies on a bed with this guy, and just spills her feelings, right? I wanted to die.
Yeah.
Number one, just wanted to die. But then, I guess, they have some time apart. There's a scene at the end of the movie. Would you want to describe it? Because I think...
So, in the whole catfishing elements subplot, she posts on some very weird fake Facebook. That part did not come off very well for me.
It was weird.
A comment acting like a woman that he's seeing, which sends his girlfriend into a jealous rage, and she breaks up with him. So... by the end of the movie, he has realized that she did this thing to break him and his girlfriend up, so he's understandably quite angry at her for having done that to him. And so the final scene, is her kind of apologizing again and saying that she's leaving.
When she quits her job.
She quits the job, and it's the final goodbye as she kind of walks out the door with all
box
her stuff.
Yeah.
And it's kind of his opportunity to forgive her or not, A, and then B, sort of profess that he's in love with her or not.
Right.
Like on that element, too.
Similar feelings, right.
Right. So you're sort of waiting... and they again, spoiler alert, play out the grand romantic comedy where she leaves and he comes running after her, and it's like, no, you're right, we had this great connection, and it turns out to be a fantasy,
which is I guess a device they use throughout the film, right, several times, and it gets like a little more and more believable each time, which I think it was kind of funny that with that last one at the end. He didn't actually sound that ridiculous. He wasn't saying... Yes,
the first one was a very very cute send-up of romance language, or
right.
not romance language, romance novel language.
Totally.
Come off. I knew it was the fantasy because it didn't seem...
You were prepared for it.
It didn't seem true to character.
Oh, okay.
I didn't think that was going to happen. And so come to the end...
We break out of the fantasy. The elevator doors are once again about to close. He calls out her name. Cut to black. Right.
As
just in the exact same manner as he did at the beginning of the fantasy, trying to lead you to think maybe this will work out in Doris's favor. Maybe he feels the same way, or maybe he's just gonna let her know she left her keys. We don't know. Right. And so it's almost this Chekhovian cut where you just don't know how it ends. So that's the question. How did it really end? Did he, what was he stopping her to say?
So my belief was, again, you have these two things playing out. I forgive you for having done that post and, no hard feelings, have a good life. Or oh no, I, in fact, am completely in love with you.
Yeah, don't go.
Don't go. I have read other people who felt like we were supposed to assume that it was going to be the don't go.
Really?
Okay. And I thought, nothing in this movie has led you... I don't think there are any markers
for it.
To that. But I did think that it was okay, I'm okay. I'm at peace with what you did. I forgive you. Know that before.
Let's part as friends.
Yeah.
Basically.
Because that seemed very, again, fundamental to his character as basically a decent person.
Right. He is the guy is a very sweet character, isn't he?
He's
sweet. The opposite of Schmidt in basically every way.
Okay.
Not shallow, right?
Not at all shallow.
Kind. Hangs out with a, 69-year-old lady from work in his spare time, which, isn't charity necessarily, but...
Hey, shows up in eyeliner to that...
What?
Pop show.
That's right.
And I thought, oh, good for, interesting quirk, You see that he has a little bit of a wild side, I guess, as well.
Totally. Yeah, I don't know. It's, I don't know if... I guess a good juxtaposition is Dirty Grandpa came out recently, and it's Robert De Niro. Yes, that's the look on your face is correct. Robert De Niro and I guess his grandson Zac Efron go on spring break. Ugh. Yeah, indeed. And along the way, Robert De Niro hooks up with and eventually marries, I think, Aubrey Plaza.
Yikes.
Yes.
Of Parks and Rec fame, for those of you who don't recognize the name.
Correct. Thank you. Yeah, she's, I think, technically 30, but I think in the movie is supposed to be a college girl.
Gross.
Right. Gross is the word. Gross is correct. So that's opening the same weekend. I think it was about the same weekend as Hello, My Name is Doris, where you've got this guy in his 60s, borderline 70s, who is we are supposed to believably assume that this young woman would find him sexually or romantically desirable.
Yeah. And
we're not supposed to question that. Or maybe it's just, it's kind of funny, but hey, that's how it goes sometimes. Whereas in Hello, My Name is Doris, that's, even in a movie as sympathetic as that, it's still hard to believe.
It's hard to believe, and I think, again, to the ending, what I really like about the movie is that while having all the sort of trappings of a romantic comedy, the movie is about, her journey back to herself. The point isn't that she gets the guy.
Right.
The point is that she gets out of this complete, at 69. That's a good point. Yeah. It's a coming of age story.
At 69.
At 69. That's
right.
The perfect...
The whole subplot of her house, of her hoarding issue, and her brother, she has a brother and a sister-in-law that are pressuring her to get, to clean out all of her sentimental items, and sell the house, right? And this is a house where she's lived since, I don't know, since she was young, basically, with her mom. You know, gave up, you know, I think she divulges to Max Greenfield at one point, like, she actually had, you know, a guy that she, you know, loved earlier, and he asked her to marry him, and she said no, and he moved away because she had to stay and take care of her mom. So.
Well, she said yes.
Oh, she said yes.
She said yes, and then he had to move for his job, and she would follow him. So she had been prepared to marry somebody, but when she chose taking care of her mother over, you know, her own personal desires, and that comes up with the brother. But I actually, on that topic, another thing that I really liked about the movie is I didn't love the sister-in-law character. They made her really kind of
she was pretty awful,
one note terrible, and there was no need for that. But the brother is pressuring her constantly about getting out of the house, and it's very much shown to be as if they want to sell the house and make money off of it. But when they have their big scene together, it becomes clear that he's actually genuinely worried.
Right.
That she is turning into their mother, who with the hoarding, and he keeps stressing to her, like, you have to get out of this rut, which is what the movie is about. Mm-hmm. And I was happy that scene took place. I thought Stephen Root, who can do anything, God. Funny, so straight, you name it.
Jesus, yeah.
That was a really powerful scene of saying that he's not the bad guy. Again, nobody really ends up, for the most part, being the bad guy in the movie.
Yeah, like, I think for a comedy, it did a really good job of really fleshing out these, you know, relatively complex characters, right? Like, I mean, it's not going to win any Oscars, but they were people that you cared about. And,
it's not, and because of it coming out at this time of year, she won't even get nominated, that will bother me come
so you think
my annual boycott of the Oscars.
Right, exactly. When that time of year comes around again. So you feel like she would have been up for it, you think? I mean, it was a great performance.
I mean, honestly, I think for how commercial the Oscars can be, because she's Sally Field, and because she did such a stunning job, they do like to sort of throw that bone to an actor who appears in an independent film and really nails it. So it wouldn't surprise me, especially in light of your comment of it being 20 years since she's had.
Oh, can you believe that? It's such a tragedy.
I want to know, was Soap Dish still?
Oh my god!
No, that's the last Sally Field movie I can think of.
It would have been. Well, let's see. That was in the 80s, right?
No, that was in the 90s. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, was it? Okay, so that could have been it. I'll have to look up her IMDb page. But yeah, I can't even it makes my skin crawl. Yeah, that's a true fact. Yeah. You know, and I guess I did a brief kind of scan over Twitter and whatnot, and all the comments were good. Like, there was no one who was saying, like, oh, why does this old lady have a movie all to herself or whatever. Like, every comment I saw every tweet I saw was, can't wait to see Sally Field. This looks so adorable. You know, she's lovely. Like, if you don't like Sally Field, like, you might be a sociopath.
I think so.
Right, like, you have, like, something off in your brain. Like, she's just likable. 100%.
She is. She's engaging. I agree.
So, I don't know. Let's talk about how much impact do you think this movie will have on a scale of... Let me explain the scale, right? Okay. How much impact will this movie have on our culture using a scale from 1 to 10? 1 being that it changes precisely nothing, and 10 being the world we once knew is gone forever. What do you think?
I think that Sally will not have the exposure to go much beyond a 1. What do you think?
That's probably... I think that's definitely fair. I'm gonna say like a 3, just in the sense of only because the box office returns were okay. Mm-hmm. Like, just because they made money. Anytime someone makes money in Hollywood, you see repeats, right?
Right. I do think, on the other hand, the trend towards big time movie actors getting really interesting TV vehicles. Right. So as has happened to Holly Hunter or Glenn Close, I could see people remembering Sally Field and thinking, hey, I have this drama that I'm writing for Netflix or for Amazon or whatever, even one of the TV networks, and having this maybe reboot Sally Field's career a little bit. Mm-hmm. That wouldn't surprise me. So.
I can see that.
Maybe I'll bump to a 3.
Well, I do want to give, other than Hello, My Name is Doris, which I definitely recommend. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
Oh, I recommend.
Yeah, absolutely. It was
as a cute film. I don't want to overraise expectations because if you think it's going to be the greatest movie in the world, then you're going to hate it.
Sure.
But just
as a fun time.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And other recommendations for this week. Just last night, I saw The First Monday in May. Have you heard of this?
I have.
Right. Okay. So it's a documentary about the Met Gala that's held every year. I think it looks like it may have been last year, maybe 2014. It's put on by Anna Wintour of Devil Wears Prada infamy, right? And this guy Andrew Bolton, who puts on the exhibits for the Met that begin the night of the gala, and it raises a bunch of money for the Costume Institute there at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And it's
in the basement. Don't forget to go.
That's right.
FYI, as a long-time New Yorker, people don't always go to that.
Have you been there? Have you seen it?
So the Metropolitan Museum of Art always has a sponsored Costume Institute exhibit, but it's in the basement, and people don't know it's there, and they often skip it, and it's usually one of the best ones in the museum. Yeah, it
was beautiful enough to have a whole film made about the production of the latest exhibit. So they actually go into that they're in the basement because the establishment sort of art critics and patrons and whatnot don't accept fashion as high art. And there's this huge question about, why is that? Is it because, it's predominantly feminine? It's the sort of the wheelhouse of mainly women and gay men. And so it's just not considered actual legitimate art. And so they are relegated to the basement and they have to make their own money, which is why they have the Met Gala.
I did not realize
that. Right. So, if nothing else, these fashionistas all have rich, famous friends. And so once a year, on the first Monday of May, they have this Met Gala. They raise millions of dollars just to keep the Costume Institute going in their little basement hideaway. So it's actually really fascinating. It's really fascinating. It's like the most nightmarish wedding you've ever seen put on, and they have to do it every year. So I really enjoyed it. So check that out if you can. Any other closing thoughts?
I'll recap my 2 recommendations. One, by all means, Google that YouTube video of Dustin Hoffman talking about his time walking around in the street as Tootsie. And then 2, this movie is a heck of a lot funnier if you are a fan of soap operas. Yeah. But Soap Dish is still, for a Sally Field vehicle, Sally Field, Kevin Kline, Robert Downey Jr., Whoopi Goldberg. Right. I mean, all-star cast.
On and on.
Absolutely hilarious. Gem
and
of a
streaming
film.
on Netflix, right?
Yes. Gem of a film for Sally Field fans out there who may have missed it, or new Sally Field fans from watching Hello, My Name is Doris.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Oh, that'd be so nice to think about there being new Sally Field fans. That warms my heart.
Me too.
Okay, well, we hope you enjoyed this episode of Movies That Matter. If you did, please take a second to leave a review on iTunes and recommend it to your friends. You can follow me on Twitter at Snow White Pitch Black. That's spelled phonetically. Good luck with that. Do you have any plugs for anything?
I have no plugs at the moment.
All right, well, we'll work on that.
I am simply the Ed McMahon to your Johnny Excellent.
Oh, yay, I feel so glad to be supported. Well, okay, that's everything for this week. Remember, movies matter, and so do you. We'll see you next time.